From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you're feeling the same. And it is time for the premier sports betting show. And this is the PrimeTimeAngles, baby. So let's go ahead and jump into it. There's a lot of things that we have to get into today. And we just have a lot of different things that we can get into today, man. That's all it is. So pretty much we have a very, very good topic to start off the show with today, and that's going to be will Justin Fields become the star that he was advertised to be with a breakout season that many are predicting? Like, it seems like every person is talking about Justin Fields and having a breakout season, and that you guys can't, overlook, his the goods that he brings to the table. He's a guy that a lot of people feel like is a run-first quarterback, but in the situation that he has been dealing with, he has to be a guy that has to be a ad-libbing quarterback. So sometimes when you want to get things moving forward, you might have to do it yourself. Chicago doesn't have the type of offense. Well, they haven't had the type of offense that has been, good, has been tailor-made for Fields to be successful. It felt like Nagy kind of just threw him out there with no plan, and it just didn't work. And then he comes back around the next year with his new coach, Everfus, who's a offensive genius as well, too. But he's coming from, Denver? You know what I mean? And Denver wasn't a high-flying offensive team. Like, that was not ever the case. You know what I mean? Or Indianapolis, wherever he came from. So Justin Fields, second half of the season, absolutely grew up. He showed what he was capable of doing and why he was such a highly touted player in high school, college, and getting drafted into the NFL. And you know what? He does have himself some playmakers now, too. And DJ Moore. He also has Chase Claypool, who was a big-time receiver in the beginning of his career in Pittsburgh. That's pretty huge. And then he has Kemet, who's one of the top 10 tight ends in the NFL. And then, you know what? They also have somewhat of a running game back there by committee as well. Even though they did lose Montgomery, they still got some guys back there that can tote that rock as well, too. So there's a lot of things working out for the Bears offensive-wise, but we all know that the Bears will be more confident with a very, very potent defense. And that's what I feel will elevate the Bears as a total unit. You can't work. The Bears have never been a great offensive juggernaut of a team. Everybody that knows that. But when the Bears are able to move the ball and get some points on the board, if the defense can get the needed stops, then the Bears are one of the better teams in the NFL. So in reality, you don't need your offense to be a top 10 offense. In reality, you really need your defense to be a top 5 defense for this team to even think about a playoff spot, to even think about winning 8 to 9 to 10 games this season. They have to play good defense. It's that simple. When you got a guy like Justin Fields, he's just like Lamar Jackson. He's only going to be as good as the total unit. So if the total unit can step up and play better football as a total unit, then the Bears will be a better team. You can't put everything on your quarterback. He doesn't play defense as well, too. And Justin Fields tried his absolute best to keep this team in games or keep them just playing hard and trying and being physical. I know a lot of people were quarterback coaches and everything when it came to Justin Fields. But I saw a lot of drop passes myself as well too. But there were some overthrows, but that's just pressure. That's overthinking, thinking too much. And he finally slowed down, stopped thinking, and went back into the process that made him a great quarterback. So Justin Fields, I do expect big things to come from him, and his leadership will be the biggest attribute towards his ascendance to the elite level of the quarterback position. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about some free agent news, and that's going to be this. That's going to be what we have here. Zeke Elliott looks like he might be joining the Patriots very soon. Zeke joining the Pats. Is that going to happen? He was over in New England for the weekend and everything like that, and they said that he hasn't left yet. And so pretty much that means that him and his agent are trying to iron out a deal with the Patriots. And I think that this could possibly be his best fit, because this is a good place to rework your career in a sense. You know what I mean? And then you have a coach in Belichick that's going to coach you, that's going to be honest with you. He's not going to baby you. He's not going to sit up in here and act like he's your best buddy and all this good stuff, and then pretty much, get rid of you at the end of the year. I truly do feel that they could have figured out a way to get Zeke to take a pay cut to stay in Dallas. I think that Dallas did not operate in the right sense to Zeke's career. They were a team that coveted him. They overspent on him. And it wasn't like that. I know he wasn't the Zeke of his rookie year and early in his career, but he was still a good leader for your team. And I think that with a healthier season, he probably would have been pretty good this year. And a lot of people, how I feel about Tony Pollard, I think Tony Pollard's a versatile running back. But for Tony Pollard to be really effective, he has to have Zeke getting most of the attention. If he doesn't have a star Pro Bowl elite type running back getting that attention, then he's just going to be kind of ordinary. He'll be Miles Sanders. And you guys have to understand that. That's why these guys are demanding that they get paid. Running backs are not as replaceable as you think they are. There's guys that are just really special at the position. And then they open it up for the guy behind him at the position as well, too. That's been going on since the start of time with the running back position. Literally. And you notice every time they lose that big star, the guy's not effective anymore. Look at Michael Turner, for instance. He had LaDainian Tomlinson in front of him for years. LaDainian Tomlinson was a hell of a player. LaDainian Tomlinson won MVP, and Michael Turner would come in, and it was almost like 1A and 1B. Michael Turner went to Atlanta. He had a pretty good first season there, and then eventually he just fizzled out. And by the time he was already washed up and burnt out, nobody wanted him. And he didn't play a top tier running. He wasn't a top tier running back, in my opinion, when he went to Atlanta, even though they pumped him up to be. His best years were in San Diego because he had LT in front of him. So that just means that him being the back that has the attention on him wasn't what he was best at. And I think that Zeke is a guy that's going to help this team play on the level that they want to be on this year. A lot of people in the talking about the AFC East, all they can talk about is the Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills, but they keep just saying, well, the Pats, no Brady. They're just passing time until they get the next quarterback. And, Belichick's probably on the hot seat, blase, blase, blase. But at the end of the day, you still have the best football. If he can get the right type of play, right bets like he did the first time around with Brady, he can go ahead and do some things in a serious way for the New England Patriots. People have to understand the AFC East is more open than you really truly think, because at the end of the day, nobody's a better coach than Bill Belichick in that division. You guys and everybody knows this. Let's keep it real. And if Belichick can just get a team to cooperate and play the way that he wants to play, they do loom the danger for the whole AFC. And anybody who knows football over the last 20 years knows this. So Zeke could be the difference in getting these guys the surprise division championship that a lot of people don't expect that they can get. But if I was really anxious on making some money off of a future, I would bet every single team in this division because they're all plus money. It's that simple, but we'll get more into that as we go. But Zeke being a priority signing for the Patriots should be something that's very, very real, in my opinion, because he could be the absolute star of this team in a sense to where he can be a good locker room guy and he can be a guy that contributes to 3 or 4 extra wins that could possibly put this team in the playoffs. Because they have the defense to support this situation. That's the whole thing. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward to our next topic. And let's talk about some college football. And can Tulane get themselves in the CFB playoff picture? Tulane actually shocked the system last year. They beat USC. They had a monster comeback against USC, who was heavily favored in the Cotton Bowl against this team. And Tulane made a monster comeback in the game and were able to win this game and score a high amount of points. And I know it was USC. USC didn't have the greatest defense last year. They were kind of Swiss cheese in a sense, especially for a team with a superior offense like Tulane. But Tulane stepped it up in a sense to show everybody, you know what? We might not be done yet. And they're a team that's going to be in the top 15 to start the year off as well, too. They're a plus 150 to win the AAC this year as well. And it seems like the AAC has produced some of the better teams in the nation over the last 5 years or so. I think they've had about 2 or 3 go undefeated for a full season as well, too. So this is something that's very intriguing because Tulane could be they were already a team that was a New Year's Eve 6, but this year they could possibly sneak in and be that 4th team in the CFB playoff if everything kind of falls in order for them. But it's going to be a tough ask for them as well, too. But I'm just over here just shooting darts. I'm just throwing darts. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to hit a target. That's it. And there's just certain teams that aren't being talked about enough that need to be talked about a little bit more. And Tulane is one of those teams. I felt that Tulane arrived as one of the nation's best teams with the way that they beat USC last year. They have one of the better coaches in college football as well, too. And if this team can stay healthy, this team can go ahead and run the table this year. And that would be something incredible because this will be another team from the state of Louisiana that is playing big-time football. And they did have a moment in time when they were in the old Conference USA, not the new Conference USA, but the old Conference USA that was somewhat of a major conference when they had Sean King, who's been on this show a few times. He was, a superior quarterback, superb. And these guys were so fun to play with on game day, all that good stuff. So the Green Wave are making the right type of moves to put themselves back in position to be a top 5 team at the end of the year because the schedule that they have in place and the fact that they have credibility now. You have to be consistently good over a few years before they really start considering you for the top 15, top 10, any of those rankings. But I feel like this team is going to be a consistent group all year long. But they are a team that is very vulnerable to their schedule as well, too. You have brand new teams coming into the AAC. We're going to talk a lot about that later on this week because we're going to start our previews for college football, and the AAC is up first because it's alphabetical order. So it's a conference that is not wide open, but they have 5 really good teams. And the standout is Tulane. And if I feel you're a standout, then you're a team that we need to take a little bit more seriously. Houston had an opportunity at the Final Four. Cincinnati made the Final Four. UCF had an opportunity at the Final Four. And it just seems like these AAC teams are always a team that's overlooked, but they are good enough to compete with any power conference there is in the nation. It's that simple. So let's see what Tulane can do. Can they be a Final Four team? Are they even going to be the AAC champion? They present some good value moving forward. And that's the only reason why I'm bringing them up, because they seem like a team that can bring you a nice Christmas present if they show up and do the right thing. It's that simple. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. With that, let's move on to our next topic in hand, and we'll go ahead and go from there. Now let's talk a little bit of NBA. And Ant Edwards signs massive extension that will take it. What will it take to get to the elite star status for next season? Now, he did sign a big star contract, $262 million. And the craziest thing about it is the top 3 picks from his draft in 2020 have all got paid. Well, not the top 3, but 2 out of the 3 guys have got paid. Ant got paid, LaMelo got paid. James Wiseman got a trip to Detroit. So these 2 have got paid. They are ready to take over as the faces of the NBA. I know it really does sound crazy right now, but that's what it is at the end of the day. That these 2 guys are in position to become the biggest names in the NBA, because LeBron James is in his twilight. I know a lot of people don't want to accept that, but he is. I think LeBron probably had his last really good, great season last year. LeBron will tailor off a lot this year. He'll probably average about 5 points less, a few assists less, and a few rebounds less. And he will have his time monitored. But I feel like we have to start opening up the pathways for these new era players. Anthony Edwards has everything it takes to be a great player at the end of the day. He has the right attitude. He has the right game. And believe it or not, he's in the right location to where they're going to let him grow and become a great, great asset to not just his team, but to the NBA and to his community as well, too. And I feel like this will be what Kevin Garnett didn't get in Minnesota as they move forward. I feel like they've really went out their way to make a great team around Ant Edwards. And that's because Ant Edwards is a great player, and he's a great team player as well, too. A lot of people don't talk enough about Ant Edwards and his drive and his passion for the game and how great he truly wants to be. A lot of people are always worried about guys who are on the Twitter, guys who are dating some vixen, some guy who's just, having a good time with the people all the time. And Edwards has his fun and things like that, but he's an old school type player. And this is the type of guys, if you played hoop for years and you played hoop at a high level, you don't have to go to the NBA. You don't have to play at college, but there's guys that play the rec ball at a high level. I know there's some rec gyms, and I know Nephew goes to a lot of them too, where if you're sorry, don't even think about getting on the court, because they're not going to pass you the ball. All you're going to be doing is getting some cardio. And pretty much Ant Edwards, you can take him anywhere, and he's going to be the best player in the room. It's that simple. And I truly feel that this is going to be a guy that takes the NBA to the level that guys like Adam Silver and the talking heads and the executives, he's going to take the NBA to the level that they're trying to get to. Because right now we're in a logjam. LeBron James is the top of the news, the end of the news. And that's because he's the game's most recognizable player. But they are progressing away from LeBron. And it's a key opportunity for a guy like this, Ant Edwards, to hop in and start becoming that household name, that guy that is the role model for a lot of the next generation that's coming up. And I feel like he is the one. And them drafting him number one, this might have been one of the safest number one picks in the draft that we've had in the last decade. And he didn't get enough fanfare coming in my opinion. But that's because he decided to go play for Georgia, who they weren't a good college basketball team at that time. And also, he came from a school that is not on the radar when it comes to these high schools and everything around the country. But he has proven to us that drafting him at the number one spot and giving him the push that he received in the beginning all makes a whole bunch of sense now. And the scouts got this one right. The talking heads still kind of hesitant on giving this guy his full props, but the scouts, the executives, everybody got it right with this guy. And I truly do feel he can be one of those players that can get the NBA out of the world of LeBron. It's that simple. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into some baseball. We're going to be talking the Dodgers moves, Dodgers last night, all that good stuff. And then we got some games to talk about for Wednesday as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, so we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And, let's go ahead and jump into it. Time to talk some baseball. We had the trade deadline yesterday and everything like that. So there were some crazy deals getting made left to right. The Mets went ahead and jumped off of both of their pitchers that they signed in consecutive years, and it was big splashes when they signed them. And the Mets are going to be this World Series contender and all this good stuff. And then pretty much what happened is that they got rid of those guys because they want to go ahead and just get their farm system back together, because they've made a lot of trades that destroyed their farm system moving forward. And so now they have to get those guys back. So now that they were able to get guys who are ready to play right now in the MLB, they should be in place to, be good in the next few years. But the Mets have pretty much said that now is a time for their team to rebuild. So they're going to be in the rebuilding phase. But Blue Crew Daily, let's talk about the Dodgers. We can get into that in a moment. But Blue Crew Daily, the Dodgers win 7-3 versus the A's and add another starting pitcher at the trade deadline. Now, the Dodgers did trade some guys away yesterday, but they weren't big-time players on the roster. And the Dodgers were pretty much trading for cash considerations. They were getting some money together to make sure that they could make certain deals happen and things like that. They were able to get Ryan Yarbrough yesterday. Ryan Yarbrough, to me, was a guy that was a very significant pitcher to that Rays staff when they got to the World Series a few years ago. And then when it was time to sign him, of course, you're not going to sign a guy. I think he got a little banged up in 2021. He kind of fell off a little bit, found himself in Kansas City as their best pitcher. So pretty much he was just rehearsing for when he got to another better team, because that's exactly why Kansas City had him there. They were loving the fact that he was balling out, because they knew that they were going to be able to get some players for him. Now, the Dodgers did not have to give up key farm prospects. The Dodgers have 8 guys that are in the top 100, and I think they got like 3 that are in the top 10. So pretty much the Dodgers didn't have to give up any of those guys. They gave up guys that were ascending to be better players, but they're not quite ready yet. So pretty much the Dodgers, I wouldn't say they won this trade, because the Dodgers needed a veteran and they need some more stock for the farm. So pretty much it's a fair trade on both sides. You just don't know how it will be until everything truly pans out. But Ryan Yarbrough does answer some questions for the Dodgers that needed to be answered. Lance Lynn already had a great night last night to start off his Dodger career. He actually, first guy up, he struck him out. So you have a veteran pitcher here, and then you got a guy who's still somewhat young in the MLB. So you added 2 really surefire pitchers that honestly would have got overpaid in the market. If guys need starting pitching, they will pay Lance Lynn. They will pay Ryan Yarbrough, because they have the credentials and the credibility to show that they can be really great pitchers. So when you look at this situation moving forward, you know that the Dodgers have put themselves in position to have a legitimate pitching staff for the playoffs. Yes, Julio Urias is struggling. You're probably going to get Clay Kershaw back the top of September. Walker Buehler is still a 50-50 situation on even making it back this season. And then you have, guys down at the farm that are waiting to come on up as well, too. So there's just a lot of things that are that you have questions about with the Dodgers, but you should know that the Dodgers are doing everything possible to put themselves in the position to be the team that is holding up that trophy at the end of the year. I can see a lot of people now complaining about what's going on with teams like Atlanta, thinking that Atlanta's still far ahead of the Dodgers, blase, blase, blase. But we all saw how it was when the Dodgers faced off with the Braves. It's the same old song all the time. The Braves got that one win over the Dodgers that led to their World Series. So everybody thinks that the Braves have some type of advantage over the Dodgers. The Dodgers had won 5 series in a row over the Braves, okay? So, like, literally, the Braves literally won that series in kind of lucky fashion. If you don't win in LA, you probably lose the series. Let's keep it real. So, all this stuff about Atlanta being this and Atlanta being that, all it is motivation for the Dodgers. When you're a team that's literally had the top record in the National League half of the last decade, or 70% of this last decade, why is it that you have to be scared of some team that's a little bit better than you this year? There's nothing to be scared about. The Dodgers are the ones that bring the biggest biggest threat at the end of the day. Yes, Atlanta has some great players, but when they go cold, they go cold. You know what I mean? And it happens to the best of us. And I truly do think that the Dodgers are in a position right now where they're not worried about catching the Braves. They're worried about holding off the Giants and the Diamondbacks and possibly the Padres, because the Padres seem to think that they're still in this thing. So let them dream. You know what I mean? Like you always say, just let them dream a little bit. You know what I mean? And we can just go from there. So pretty much with that, I think that we do have ourselves a very, very good, strong situation going here in Dodgerland. They brought back Kike Hernandez, great dugout guy. You bring in Rosario, a guy that can be a good hitter against left-handed pitching. Then you bring in some relief help as well too. Just backing guys. You got Lance Lynn, who's a strikeout guy who struck out 7 last night. So that's good. The Dodgers need a fireballer, and he knows that he's going to get runs now. A lot of those games he lost was because he wasn't getting runs. And then you bring in Yarbrough, who just literally, I know he prayed to the heavens when he saw that he was going to the Dodgers. And one last thing. nobody be mad at Eduardo Rodriguez. I've had the feeling that E-Rod will possibly be on the Dodgers by the end of yesterday, but I didn't get my hopes all the way up because if he would have been traded to the Dodgers, it probably would have happened well before the deadline. And I know he probably mulled that decision for a few days on, should I go ahead and, wipe out the trade clause and just go to the Dodgers? And he decided not to, and that's fine. More power to him. He said that he wants his family to stay more closer to the East Coast and things like that. It makes total sense. And then you get to play with the Tigers. You literally get to tell them anything you want in that situation. So you move forward, and everything will work out when it's all said and done. But we move on. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about MLB Wednesday night. And I pretty much kind of got into it with the whole trade deadline situation. I'm going to say this. I would say that the team that won the most at the trade deadline, and it's funny I'm going to say this, it's probably the Astros, because the Astros needed that certified pitcher again. They had a lot of no-namers in there. Even though Valdez got himself a no-hitter last night, they still had a lot of guys that were kind of no-names. You know what I mean? And they needed to have the guy to really put this pitching staff over. And Verlander was so good to the bullpen last year to where he was their constant leader. And now they got back their leader. So that was one of the smarter moves that you can make at the trade deadline. I think that a big flop, in a sense, was the Orioles situation, because they kind of forced themselves to get Jack Flaherty because they saw that the Rays had made a move for a pitcher as well too. So they kind of just did it so they could look cool in front of the crowd, but they really didn't need to at the end of the day, in my opinion. Jack Flaherty is going to be good for them, but they did have to give up some good players for that situation, because you're not going to just send anybody to the Cardinals. That's the whole thing. The Cardinals will figure out who the best players are on your roster. But I kind of feel like the Orioles just jumped in just to jump in. But, it is what it is, and it's on. We're in the stretch run of the MLB season, and you know what? Guys, there's still going to be guys getting signed over the next few weeks. So there's a lot of parity going on in the MLB, and you gotta love it. But let's go ahead and jump into tonight's game. We got a full schedule, and right now, from what I can see here, I'm going to run you guys some scores real quick. But we have 3 games that are final right now. The Braves beat the Angels in Atlanta 12-5. And then we have the Tigers and the Pirates. Tigers get their good win today, beating the Pirates 6-3. And also, when it comes down to it, the Brewers and the Nationals have their series, and the Brewers continue to struggle as they lose this game 3-2 and lose the series 2 out of 3. So, they're gonna have to really, really, buckle down a little bit, because they're starting to get a little bit too far behind Cincinnati for my liking, in a sense. You know what I mean? But we'll see how it goes. But this team has dropped their last 7 out of 11 games, and they're gonna have to pick it up. They truly are. So, actually, 8 out of 11 games. So let's go ahead, move into our first game that I'm going to talk about. It's going to be the Rays and the Yanks. And I know everybody's just like, you just need to retire the Yankees for the rest of the season. And I think you guys might have a good point. The Yankees just seem like a fish out of water at this point. I thought that the Yankees had one big stretch run in them, but the more and more I look at it, the more and more this is starting to get difficult for the Yankees. But this is something that Yankee fans can hold their hat on. If they were in the AL Central, they would be in first place by half a game. But they're not. This is crazy. You're a last place team, but could be a first place team in another division. The East is so good this year. I know I say it like every show, but it's just so good this season. And, it's must-see TV. Baltimore is trying to wrap up the series against Toronto that they've already won. And they're trying to just increase, but it's funny because Tampa Bay still has the same amount of wins as them, but they just have 3 more losses than them. So there's just a lot that's going on in this situation, and it's so fun in a sense to where, we really do have ourselves a great situation going on in the MLB. But when it comes to breaking down this game tonight, We have Garrett Cole on the mound for the Yankees, looking to ensure that they don't get swept. You got Shane McClellan, who's one of the better pitchers when it comes to winning games. He's 11-1 on the season with a 3.00 ERA. And last time out, he gave up 3 runs and struck out 6, but he gave up 8 hits. This was against Houston. And he struggled a little bit against Baltimore as well, too. So his last 2 games, he's been getting hit a little bit. But before that, he was just lights out. But it happens. It happens. As the season progresses and guys start getting more and more used to, especially division rivals, things start getting really, really difficult. So Shane McCallahan is coming in here trying to, get things right again, and then you got Garrett Cole, who's 9-2 on the year, possibly could be. I know he's in the top 5 voting for the Cy Young right now. He actually pitched 7 shutout innings in his last game, but they wound up losing that game as well, too. And he's been really good in his last 5. He's only given up 6 runs in total, and he's actually struck out 31 guys in his last 5 games. So that's a pretty good number right there. And this is something that he can hang his hat on and be pretty proud about at this point. But the Yankees truly do need him to be big tonight. They need him to have a big, big moment tonight, in my opinion. They need to have him good because the Yankees are really starting to – they're starting to get a little more further and further back of the pack, and that's not good for the Yankees moving forward. Okay? They have to stay within the group. Because if they got about another week before it's really like, okay, this thing's probably over. But right now they're still in position, even though they're 11 games back. And to win the division, they're still only a few games out of the wild card spot. And they're actually wild card spot. I'm getting it now. They're actually right now about 3.5 games out of the wild card spot. So the Yankees have something to play for. It's not like they don't have something to play for. But tonight I'm going to take the 1.5 run line on the Yankees plus 175. Yankees get it home so we can salvage the series somewhat. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next one. It's going to be the White Sox and the Rangers. This is going to be a good game tonight as well, too. You got Dylan Cease on the mound for the White Sox, and then you got Dane Dunning on the mound for the Rangers. Now, the Rangers coming fresh off of a sweep, and it looks like that they're in position to sweep the White Sox this week. Tonight, actually, because I'm looking at it now. Actually, this is the second game of the series. I'm sorry, but they did lose yesterday 2-0, and now we move forward and we have ourselves the Wednesday game today. And Dylan Cease looks like he's going to be ready because he thought he was probably leaving yesterday, but he didn't. Dylan Cease is still stuck in Chicago on the south side. But he's been good in his last few games, even though he gave up 4 runs last time out. He had only given up 2 runs in his previous 2 games, and that was 1 apiece. And he's actually struck out 20 guys over his last 3 games as well, too. Now, he struggled a little bit before that against St. Louis, did pretty good against Oakland, and had a great game against the Angels. So, Dylan Cease is still a guy that is one of their better pitchers. He's a guy that is very capable of having a great game tonight. Then you have Dane Dunning, who's coming into his own. He's a guy that was seen as the future ace of the team. He put on some glasses after he struggled a little bit, and he's became one of their better pitchers this year. He had a highlight game this year, going 8 2/3 against Detroit and striking out 10 and giving up 2 runs and on 4 hits that day. He's actually kind of struggled, though. He hasn't won a decision since July 4th. So he's trying to get himself back into the win count. He's dropped his last 3 in a row, to be exact. So he wants to step it up somewhat. And when you look at the situation right now, he's a guy who's good for about 5 innings. 5-6 innings, but you can get to him fairly early as well, too. But in this spot today, in this spot tonight, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this actually a game where we're going to take the White Sox as our dog of the day. I just feel they have the better pitcher coming into the spot tonight. And the White Sox, they got guys over here that are probably going to be pretty pissed that they didn't get traded yesterday. So they're going to want to win a game. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move forward from there. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next game, which is going to be the Mets and the Royals. This one should be a fun one. Tonight, you got a 50-56 Mets team, and then you got a Royals team that's 33-75. Both these teams went ahead and cleaned house yesterday. I told you guys 3 weeks ago the Mets had to get rid of their two Hall of Fame pitchers to really recover the right way. That means you got to take some top foreign players, and you're really going to have to rebuild this thing. And pretty much they had the right idea. You add in players like this who have the Hall of Fame resume, and you can move them for anybody you want at a trade deadline. And they absolutely did that. They knew that they could go send these guys to the highest bidder, who a team that's chasing the playoffs, and they did it. You know what I mean? And they did it with the state of Texas. So pretty much the Mets are actually feeling pretty good about moving forward. Yeah, it ain't going to be no playoffs this year, but moving forward, the Mets have a plan, and it's looking a lot like how it did in the 80s. So you guys just go ahead and watch that Darryl and Doc situation, and you guys will understand it a little bit better. Kansas City just adding on to the farm. It's really simple. You know what I mean? It's nothing to it but to do it. And, they never had any intentions of being a really great team this year. Everything's about building for the future moving forward. So pretty much with this game tonight, I like the under because the pitching matchup kind of calls for it. We have Reagan's pitching tonight, who that should be pretty good. And then for the Mets tonight, we have pitching for the Mets. We have Kodai Senga, who's probably the most consistent pitcher with the Mets, other than the two veterans that just got traded. And he did have a good outing against Arizona a few weeks back where he struck out 12. And in his last game, he gave up 1 on 2 hits, struck out 5, walked 3 against Washington. So he comes into this game tonight against another team that's low tier like the Royals, and he's been so good against teams like this. So pretty much the way that I see it shaping up, I see that this game will go under tonight. I think that it's an under game. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move forward from there. All right, so pretty much we have ourselves a very, very, very good situation going on tonight. And let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and take another quick commercial break. And when I get back, we will be talking those tickets. We got WNBA Wednesday night, and we also have the MLB PrimeTime PK6. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTimeAngles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back with the with the PrimeTimeAngles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the premier sports bet show. Damn, I got too many shows, but we do have the Bet Exchange coming back very soon. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I can't wait, and I look forward to it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. Me and Jeff are both looking forward to it. A big season ahead as well, so you guys get ready. I'm looking at doing it this Friday, the preview to start the preview shows and things like that. So I'll keep you guys tuned. I got to talk to Jeff a little bit more, but we'll see how it goes. But let's go ahead and jump into our first group, and that's going to be the WNBA Wednesday night. I'm taking the Storm as our dog in this game today. They are the home team, so I like them a lot as the dog in this spot. They had a good win the other night where they won by almost 30 points. So Storm should go ahead and translate that into tonight's game, especially being back at home. And you know that they have one of the better home crowds in the WNBA as well, too. So I'm taking the Storm with the plus 210 money line. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Then in the first half, I got the Storm covering with the plus 4. We'll see how that shapes up. And then we got the over 42.5. I expect some scoring to go on in the first quarter. So there it is. Those are our WNBA Wednesday night bets. And from there, we move on to the MLB PrimeTime PK6. Now we have it 61-1, and this is going to be a 1.5 to the Yanks. Plus 175. Like I said before, I'm taking the Yankees today as one of our bigger bets because it is plus 175. We also have the over 8.5 with the Orioles and the Blue Jays today as well too. A very important teams. Even though the Orioles have already won the series, the Jays are trying to save a little bit of face so then they can keep themselves right where they need to be in that race for the AL East. And then you have the White Sox money line plus 120. That is going to be our dog of the day today in Arlington. So we'll see how that goes, see how it shakes out. And Dylan Cease, we trust. And then we're going to go with the other team in Chicago, the North Side guys, and that's going to be the Cubs minus 150 against the Reds today. And then we're taking the under 9 with the Mets and the Royals. And then we finish up with the Diamondbacks minus 140 plus 1.5. We need them to lose by a run or win by a run or better. It doesn't really matter. We just need them to go ahead and keep the game close. That's all we need. So with that, that's going to be talking tickets for today. And pretty much I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You guys are the absolute best. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm supposed to be on with Jeff, but we'll see because Jeff, it's been kind of weird with the Thursday morning stuff, but Jeff should be around 10:30 tomorrow, 10 o'clock on Thursday. I'll have to talk to him in a moment. And then I'll have the show at about 12 tomorrow, probably 1 o'clock, because if we're going to be doing the show with Jeff at 10:30 or so, I probably will need about an hour and a half before the next show. So we'll have that show at 12 noon or 1 o'clock tomorrow. And then you guys can catch me on Voice America on the Mike Abadir show at 4 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow as well, too. So I got a full day of shows, and I don't want you guys to miss any of them. So make sure you tune in for them. And also, when you watch this show, make sure you share, you retweet, whatever you have to do. Let's keep the movement moving, all right? Let's stop playing around, all right? Okay? Because you know this is the premier sports betting show, the best of the best, baby. So make sure you guys keep tuning in. Make sure you guys keep sharing and spread the word a little bit. You know what I mean? So with that, thank you so much. As I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. And once again, this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.